This is the BiggerPockets Podcast, show 249.
You're listening to BiggerPockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.
What's going on, everybody? This is Josh Dorkin, host of the BiggerPockets Podcast, here with my co-host, Mr. Brandon Turner. What's going on, man?
Yeah, you know, the usual. Traveling. Where in the world is Brandon Turner today?
Yeah, you in Minnesota now?
Minnesota, yeah. The last podcast and then this one, because we're recording them on the same day. I'm still here in the oak-covered kitchen. Check this out. I'm going to show you something.
Fancy.
So, oak door.
Yes.
Oak shelf. Wait for it. Oak bench behind me.
Wow.
Oak table.
Wow.
Sitting on an oak chair.
Wow.
Oak trim.
You are the least interesting person in the world.
There is so much oak in this house. I love it. But like in Minnesota, that's still popular. I don't know. In my area.
Say hi to your mom.
I will. Hey, Mom.
Oh, jeez.
Dad? Yeah. You want to come say hello? Come here.
The Turners are about to come on the podcast.
Come here, come say hi.
There we go. Let's see.
All right, you guys are gonna hear my dad here. Come on over.
Oofda.
All right, Dad, come talk to a couple 100,000 people. All right, say hi.
Hello.
This is my dad.
Hey, Dad.
Josh says hi.
Hi, Josh.
What's happening?
He can't hear you.
Where's Mom?
Yeah, where's Mom? Is she around? You should bring her over.
All right.
All right, while we go on, he's gonna go see if he can find my mom.
That's great. Well,
Anyway,
there you go. Wow.
that's my dad.
You weren't just like, created out of nowhere.
I know, weird. I came from somewhere.
Oh my goodness. Cool, man. Well, so
Wow, we are so far off track.
we are. Hey man, today's show's cool. I like, it's one of those, like, we often do these shows where it's like, oh, how big can you get? How big can you get? And today's show is like, hey, what kind of life can you build?
Yep.
Right. And I think that's great, because there are those people who want to go as big as they can. And then there's other folks who are like, I just want real estate as a way to kind of live the life I want to live. And that's kind of what we did today. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Focusing on better deals rather than more deals, like you guys will hear, Josh, his name's Josh Daniels. He's talking about his first deal, especially going to blow you away. Like just his creativity and how he made a house turn into a house hack. Come here, Mom. All right, this is my mom. Here she comes. That's my mom. Say hi.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Say hi, hundreds of thousands of people.
Hi, hundreds and thousands and millions of people.
Ow!
Yeah. All right.
This
Thanks, Mom.
is Turner.
That's my mom. She's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah,
cool, man. Yeah. So
awesome.
Anyway, great show, and we'll dive into that in a minute. Before we do, Brandon, we need today's quick tip.
So today's quick tip actually comes from last week's show, but we had two cool quick tips last week. I couldn't decide which one to use, so I used one last week, one this week. So last week's guest talked about this idea of when you're calling like agents, contractors, sellers in another market that you're not in, go sign up for a phone number in their market. So when their phone rings, it's their area code, which instantly builds more trust. Like, and it takes down a few walls when you're talking to them.
Great advice.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? Cool little tip. It's like $10 a month or whatever. You can get a phone number in their area. So
that's great. I love it. Nice work.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, guys, let's get into this thing. Today's guest, Josh Daniels, is a real estate investor in the middle of nowhere, Montana. Actually, I don't
pretty much
quite
Columbus, Montana, I think.
Was it Columbus?
I think it was something like that.
Yeah, and there, he's building a portfolio of single-family buy and hold rentals, creating cash flow to help him live the life that he wants to live, and it's great. We dive in on finding deals, on just as Brandon said earlier, some creative ideas for taking a property that might not have been the greatest deal when he bought it and transforming it into something very, very creative and profitable. So it's a great show. Very excited to have him on, and let's just get to this thing. So Josh, welcome to the show, man. It's good to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be here. So excited to be with you guys.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It always weirds me out though a little bit when I got two Joshes on the show. I feel like you're like ganging up on me or something.
Double Josh. It's a good name.
It is a good name. Very solid name. All right. So, Josh, you and I actually met before once, did we not? And I didn't know that until today. So tell us about that.
We did. Yes. Brandon put a post on BiggerPockets looking for the beautiful face of BiggerPockets, and I just knew it was me. So no, me and my wife got to connect with him, and he came out and stopped by one of our very first property, took a picture of us with him and Heather, and it was just a really cool experience. So
we did. Yeah, I was on my trip around the country, and I wanted to meet a bunch of BiggerPockets people and take their photos in front of their units. I'll actually take the photo I took of you guys, and we'll put it in the show notes here, so they can go see what you guys look like 2 years ago or whatever. But anyway, it was a super cool experience, and you guys were crushing it. And I did not know that you were the same guy that I was interviewing today until 5 minutes ago. So this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So
I was pretty starstruck and amazed at how tall you were.
I am a tall guy.
You are a very tall guy.
Indeed.
All right.
Well,
so
awesome, man. Well, I've done enough for you guys. Getting a little get together. You guys go find a hotel room, and I'll actually do an interview here. Right. So, Josh Daniels, talk to us about getting started in this world of real estate. Why real estate? How'd you get started? What were you doing before?
Yeah, we just basically got started right out of college. And I think that's kind of where our story really starts, is back in college. We were just really frugal. We just didn't have much spending that we did. And we graduated college debt-free. Both my wife and I, we were dating through college. And so we worked really, really hard, paid off those student loans. And then we got out of college and we felt super broke. I remember I got my first job and I was making like $31,000 a year. And it was like, dude, I got money all of a sudden. But we didn't live like that. We lived way under our means. And about a year later, about 9 months later, we woke up and we realized we had $20,000 in the bank, and we're like, we're rich. We felt so blessed to have that. And that's really what got us started, realizing, hey, we got to do something with this money. And we're married, we're out of college, we got the first real job. What do? You buy a house, right? And so we told our landlord, hey, we're going to be buying a house. And his first reaction was really sad, of course, because he's losing tenants. But after that got over, he said, hey, I got a tip for you. Ignore everything on the MLS. You don't need the MLS. Drive every street in the small town we live in and check out houses that are vacant, maybe broken windows, missing paint, that kind of stuff, and go just check it out and see what you can find. And so that's what we did. We just kind of started driving around, and we called some of those people, and we got our first deal just calling on those, But it really all did start with us being able to live under our means and have that capital there to be able to do. So
where do you live?
I live in rural Montana, Columbus, Montana. I'm about an hour outside of Billings, if anybody even knows where that is. It's the biggest town in Montana, and it's still like 90,000 people. It's really small, but
Montana is amazing. I finally got there this summer. I love Montana. I think we were at a place called Livingston. This cute little town, like amazing, beautiful, cool little town. I'm a fan.
Dude, that's just like 40 miles from me. So that's my neighborhood there.
Cowtown.
It's great. It's awesome. Yeah, cattle country.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So.
All right, so you're in rural Montana. You're driving around. You find this first property. You buy it from them. This was a property to live in, correct?
Yeah. So this was our first house, and we saw it, and we thought it was really lame because it had a separate entrance to the basement. And we're like, this is super lame. You can't get to the basement unless you go outside. And we were just like, man, what is this? And the basement was stripped and gutted. We eventually found out that it was a duplex at one point. And so over the course of, we purchased it. We paid $70,000 for this property. It needed a ton of work. We redid a whole bunch of stuff on it ourselves on the nights and weekends. And we took that basement and we put in a unit down there, and that was our first rental. So it was kind of like a house hack, but unintentionally. We didn't even know we were buying a duplex when we bought it. We just kind of stumbled upon it. So
what did you rent that basement for once you fixed it?
Yeah.
Well, and before that, how much did you guys put into the property to fix it?
We were super cheap. I bought like the damaged drywall at Lowe's and like the cheapest sinks and like free toilet from Craigslist. It was terrible. I think we probably put like $4,000 into rehabbing that basement and making it from cement walls to a livable apartment. It was rough. I mean, we go down there today and we're just like embarrassed about how the quality of workmanship there. We're just like, oh, tough stuff.
It's funny. I was just walking through one of my old rentals, like one of the first I ever did on my own. Like I fixed, I'm just like walking through, like, what was I thinking? Like, why would I do that? Yeah, who did this? Who did this work? And like, I'm walking with my contractor. He's like, oh, look at how shoddy that work is. And I'm just like, yeah, that's really bad. I mean, boy, there's been some moron contractor worked on this house.
Yep. Exactly.
Nice. Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah, you get better.
So yeah, we rented that for $400 a month, man. And I remember the day we got our first rent check. I mean, my mind was just blown. It was a new thing for me. Then that's when we went all in on real estate. We're like, this stuff works, because it was the first check I'd ever received in my life passively, where I was able to just the rent just showed up, like it was awesome. It changed. It was a big thing for me at that moment.
What was that like living next to your tenants? We ask people that from time to time because everyone kind of has a different experience with it. So how'd that work for you?
We liked it. I really enjoyed it. I just enjoy people. And so for us, it was a positive experience and just getting to know different people. And I don't think it's totally worth the hassle. I mean, it's a small amount of hassle to deal with tenants like that. And to get paid for it, it's just like, oh, not even consideration in my mind. So we enjoyed it. It was good.
Awesome.
That's cool.
All right. So you got this property, the accidental house hack, the accidental duplex, and you got the itch, right? So what do you do? Like, your wife seems like she's on board as well. She's excited. Yep. But you had spent the $20K that you had presumably plus then some. Yep. How do you proceed?
Yeah, well, that duplex was sitting on quite a large lot. And I started looking around for other deals and trying to find stuff, and realized that the property that duplex was sitting on was a full double lot, and the duplex was only on one lot. And I realized, holy smokes, I got a whole nother lot I can do something with. So I took that extra lot and we went to zoning and figured out what can we do with this. Found out it's good for a manufactured home that had to be double wide pitched roof, like a nicer mobile home basically on it. And so we spent a couple months looking. We found a mobile home for $6,000, moved it in, and rented that for $800 a month. And so that was just, that was a killer first deal for us. That really, between those two, that really springboarded us into be able to make some money. I all in all, we put probably $15K by the time we moved the mobile home, water hookups, sewer hookups, all that stuff. But still, $15K investment that rents for $800 a month. I mean
That's like
I'll do that.
That's like a 6% rule, 5%
rule. So
awesome.
You got $70K plus the 4 plus the 15, so that's $90K gets you what is that? $1,200 plus you get to live there.
Yep.
So you're at a 1.5% rule, or a little over 1. Plus you're living for free, and if you rented your half out, you got another $400 to $600. I mean, it's a screaming deal.
Yep. That's basically what we did. We moved out after that and got $600 upstairs, $400 down. We got $1,800 of rent for that initial deal, and we paid $70. We put a big down payment on it, and we were big Dave Ramsey fans back then, and we still kind of are, but we definitely use debt. But he really helped us to think differently. So we put it on a 10-year fixed rate mortgage. And so we paid it off in about 5 years. We put extra money on it. So now that property is free and clear, cranking out $1,800 a month. That it just is it's a good starter home for us, a good deal for us to go kick it off.
That's so cool. That's very awesome.
And what year was that?
5 years ago to the summer. So 2011, 2012, 2012.
Okay. So is it still generating $1,800 a month
Yep.
So you have not been able to raise the rents though on this property?
No, we haven't. No, we've kept it right about the same of where we're at.
That's one interesting thing about rural real estate investing, right? Is that like, the rents don't really go up very much.
Nope.
Nope. Yeah, I still get about the same rent as 10 years ago.
Yep. But what blows me away about this deal is this guy that owned it before me was an investor, and he had it for about 10 years, and he rented the duplex upstairs, just the upstairs unit, for $500 a month. And so he was sitting on the potential of $1,800 a month for 6 years, but just being able to look differently at a deal and go, hey, what's the highest and best use? How can I make the most money out of this thing and make a good livable space for people in our community, because there's definitely a shortage where we live. So
I've heard of people doing similar things, like they'll bring in like a tiny house, right, and they'll put it in their backyard. Or in Hawaii, what a lot of people do is they bring in those, I think they call them ohanas, right? It's like a separate house you can like buy, and the government even has like a program for this because there's a housing shortage. Well, you can put them in your backyard basically, and then rent that out to. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just thinking outside the box. I love it. Exactly.
That's the money.
That's great. That's awesome, man. All right. So you've taken this one property that was going to be your primary residence, converted that to a duplex, realized your property could sustain another property on the another home on the property. You did that. I mean, absolutely brilliant. What's next? I mean, did you continue to make good moves, or, would it be hard to top that going forward?
It was kind of hard to top that. I felt like we were a little spoiled on that first one, but our next deal was just as good of a home run. I think we bought well in our community back then. Even though rents haven't gone up, values have really gone up in our area. We've just seen significant appreciation. So buying anything back then looked smart. Now it's like, oh, that was a good deal. So our next purchase was a brick duplex or single family home that we found of Fannie Mae foreclosure. And it was kind of ridiculous. We actually were watching it on the market go down in price by $10,000, and then they drop it again, $10,000. And I think they were at 59, and we put in an offer at 49, and we're like, all right, sweet, we'll get a good deal on this house. And they said, no, we want 59. And we put in an offer at, I think it was 55. And then they said, no, we want 59. Well, we get up to 57,000, I think we offered. We're just real close to it. And they rejected our offer. And then the next morning, they lowered the price to $49,000, and we were just like, "You guys are idiots!" But that's Fannie Mae for you. Our government dollars at work.
What's funny is that
is hysterical.
That exact same thing happened to my in-laws. Just like I think it was a Fannie Mae foreclosure like 6 months ago. Yeah, same thing. They ended up getting like $15,000 cheaper than what they offered like a few weeks earlier. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But anyways, we moved into that house. We were getting tired of living next to our tenants, so we did that as a flip, a live-in flip, I think is kind of what we call it around here. Yep. And so moved into that. We stayed 2 years, and we sold it first day on market for $150,000. Wow.
So cleared about $80,000 in tax-free profit on that, which for, again, small town guy, I don't make much money at my day job. I'm not rolling in the cash. So that really helped springboard us into buying a lot more rental properties because we had that cash then to be able to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is great. All right, man, I'm addicted. Now what?
Well, we jumped in from there to start doing our first flip, and about the same numbers. Purchased about 50 and sold for 120, I think, somewhere in there. And so a lot more rehab on those and different things. And we've moved into another live-in flip, what we're currently in. We're in year 5, so next year we'll be ready to sell that one for the 2 years tax-free. Creation there.
Let's talk about that real quick. So people might not know about what that is. So live-in flips is one of my favorite ways to invest. Can you explain, first of all, like, why is a live-in flip, a cool thing? And then what's that 2-year thing you're talking about?
Sure. For me, live-in flips are awesome because I don't have to do all the work right away. With flipping, time is money. Regular flipping, time is money. You can't let that thing sit there. But live-in flip, I got time to work on stuff and clean stuff up. I'm kind of a do-it-yourself kind of guy. Although lately we've hired out a lot more, delegated a lot to crews. But so I think that's a huge advantage. If you got time and you can just get in there and clean stuff up. The big advantage is the tax reasons. Every 2 years you're able to sell a property. If you've lived in it 2 of the last 5 years, then you can sell that tax free. And so that's just a really important thing there.
That's your tenant calling.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, they need me.
Well, so on that note, let's talk about that real quick. So first of all, I'll wrap up the live and flip thing. I love it. The 2-year thing, fantastic. I love that. In fact, I just sold actually a house 3 weeks ago, and I cleared about $80,000 on it, and it's going to be tax free because I lived in it 2 of the last 5 years. Now I haven't lived there in 2 years, but I lived there for 3 and 4 years ago, so it was still qualified for the 2 of the last 5 years. So anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah, the live and flip thing is cool. But what about management? I mean, are you managing all these properties yourself? Is your wife does some? Do you hire it out?
Yeah, we are. We manage it ourselves. My wife does a lot of the paperwork, handles the paperwork. I handle most of the maintenance calls at this point. We don't have a ton of units. We got 8 units right now, so it's pretty manageable. We only invest from now on. We only invest in single family homes. We just after that duplex experience, we like it. We still own it, but we're just really intentional about buying single family homes to not have tenants sharing walls. It just cuts down on drama. We really want this to be a passive retirement strategy. We're not in this to have hundreds of units or whatever. We're just here to build up a good nest egg and make it as passive as possible.
All right, let's talk about that, because on next week's show we've got Grant Cardone on the show again.
Oh,
and Grant Cardone calls you an idiot.
Yeah, he will.
as a preview.
Yes, I think he called our wives idiots, or at least my wife. I think. But anyway,
wow.
we'll get to that next week. You guys will have to hear that next week.
Yeah. But the strategy. I love how you said, I only do houses because I don't want shared walls. What anyone who's owned apartments or duplexes, triplexes, 4s, and 5+ knows is, once you step away from houses, you tend to deal with tenant drama. Do you want to explain why it's different than a house?
Yeah. For us, a house is just really amazing, especially 3-bedroom houses. You're attracting families. We rent to, good blue collar workers or professional tenants that are just great people. They got family, they got pets. They just enjoy the home. They make it their home. A lot of our tenants do a lot of repairs that I never hear about. I don't even know that they did anything. And so it's pretty amazing that they work on that stuff. And then, with the tenants, in the multi and the duplex and stuff, I just feel like they just have a lot. I don't want this to sound wrong, but like an entitlement mentality. You got to do everything and fix it, and rightly so. It's not their home. It's just a temporary place they're living. So, our single family homes, we sign 3-5-year leases with them.
Wow.
They enjoy. They want the last 3 houses we bought this summer. All of our tenants we've got have all said, we want to buy this house. That's our goal, is to when we're done, we want to buy it from you. So we just want people. It's just a different mindset when you're dealing with those people. They're much better. They're so much easier to work with. That's why we do that. So.
Got it. And what about, I guess one of the arguments against those long-term leases for folks is the ability to raise the rents and things like that.
Sure.
Is there, given your market, it seems like that's less of an issue.
Yep.
Do you have any concerns signing people to long-term leases like that?
I haven't. I just haven't seen, looking at the history in this area, I haven't seen rents go up crazy high in any short period of time. And we actually sign our leases starting a little bit high above market rent. And that's just who we attract. But then we look for good people that want to be in there a long time, and usually it works. So it's been working.
And for the newbies, we don't ask this question. I think we just kind of assume it, Brandon. But I want to go and buy a house and rent it out to somebody. Like, what am I responsible for as the landlord? What are they responsible? Like, are they mowing lawns? Are they shoveling? Are they where's the line between you and them and on duties and bills?
Sure. Yeah. And when that's probably the main reason why we like the single family homes is the utilities are all, we just put them all in their name and they handle them and they work with the thing. So if they're late, they got to work between the company, not us. They do all the lawn maintenance. They do all the snow removal. It's their home. They do so much around to keep those places going well. So that's I think the main reason why we like them. It's way less work, way less management for my wife. So
yeah.
And your strategy, you said you've got 8 units now, only investing in single family houses. You're not doing this to get rich. why are you doing? Are you doing it to quit your job? Are you doing it to get like X amount of income per month and then just retire, or in addition to your job? Or, what's your goal? What's your why?
Yeah, my joy. I love to do what I do. I work nonprofit. I'm a children's pastor at a church, and so I love what I do. I love working with kids. I love our future generation. But it's not a field that you make a lot of money in. It's just known for not making tons of cash. So for us, this is a great retirement strategy. And yeah, someday I would love to be able to help those places like that without having to draw a salary. I'd love to be able to have enough income to live on and just be able to serve and use my time to help people. So that's kind of my why.
All right. So you're not doing this to get rich, which you don't have to, right? I mean, it's like there's a purpose for everyone. Everybody has an opportunity to kind of do their thing. And it's great.
Yeah, there was a huge mind shift for me once. I spent a lot of time on the forums, and I feel like there's a bragging rights thing with how many units you have. And it's like, oh, yeah, I got 20 units. I got 25 units. And so for the longest time, for the first 3 years of my investing, it was all about how many units do I got? How many can I get? And something shifted for me one day when I realized I would much rather have 15 units that push cap $5,000 a month than 50 units that push $5,000 a month. I'd much rather have better units and just easier management and all these types of things. And it became more about equity and cash flow instead of focusing on units, units alone. And I almost made some bad buying decisions because, that one's got 4 units. That's got more than the other one. So that'll make me more popular on BiggerPockets. No, not a good reason.
Yeah.
It's true. I see it all the time. Like people talk about unit numbers, and it's very much of a bragging rights thing. And even I last 2 weeks ago, right? I sold my 24-unit apartment building. Now I just feel like, I only have 30 now, or whatever. It's like, am I not as cool of an investor? Do I not have the right to, I'm dropping. Yeah, I don't know. But it's not. It's not about that, right? At all.
Even though your balance sheet is probably much better now than it was before.
Yeah. What matters here, guys, is like it's your needs, right? Like I think one of the things that we're all guilty of because we grew up in this society is we're guilty of competing against one another, right? And look, competition is awesome, right?
It is good.
I like competition for sports. I like competition for motivation. I like competition for certain things. But life is not a competition, right? Like we're and I think it takes a lot of people never realize that. I think a lot of people go their entire life and never realize that they're not competing against everyone else. It's like, you drop dead and you're dead, and that's the end of you, right? So like,
not about all money.
Everyone else is irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. So like, worry about what do you need? Again, like we said, what's the why? Why are you doing this? Is it like to look like you're cooler than the other guy? Okay, well, if your ego is that fragile and that's why you're doing stuff, you need to rethink your life.
Exactly.
You need to rethink your life. But it's interesting. I obviously, I'm somewhat introspective about this kind of stuff, and it's Brandon, you're still a good guy with 30 units, man. You're still Brandon Turner with 30 units. And if you sold all 30, you'd still be Brandon Turner with 0 units.
That's true. And a lot less headache.
Yes. Amen.
Awesome, man. All right. So how are you finding deals at this point? Is it all still just driving the neighborhood?
Yeah, no, we've found actually surprisingly most of our deals on the MLS, even though our landlord told us that the first time, for whatever reason, we've just found a lot of good deals. Foreclosures are mostly what we've been buying, although those have been harder and harder to come by lately. So
are these REOs or auction properties?
Yeah, sorry, REOs. Yep, listed on the MLS and but bank owned, and so. Yep. So that's kind of what we've been buying. And then we found a few off market. I think 2 of them this year we found off market, just one on Craigslist. And then one it was actually next door to the one we just bought. And the lady was like, hey, you want to buy this one too? And we're like, sure. So it just worked out. So those kind of things happen.
That's awesome. It's interesting. I mean, being Are the numbers all pretty similar to those initial deals? You're getting about 1.5 to 1.5%.
Yeah, all other than the about 1 to 1.5%. Other than the one we bought, we made a bad choice this past year. We paid way too much for a property, and we ended up selling it, and we made about $9,000, which was not great for a flip profit by any means. But we didn't lose money, and we were happy. But yeah, that one we paid $120,000 for, and we tried to rent it for $1,200 a month. And that one, I don't know. We had trouble keeping tenants in it. It was in a rougher neighborhood in Billings. So it was just a challenge, but yeah. Yep.
Sorry about that. I was going to dive in on that property. Why? You said you paid too much. Did you pay too much due to some emotional attraction to the property, or did you pay too much because you chased the price up? Or did you just not evaluate it appropriately enough?
Yeah, I think you're right on all accounts. We were just too emotionally ready to buy another property. We just get excited. I love real estate. I get too excited about it. And we were just like, we need a deal. We need one right now. We got cash. Let's do it. And we just we bought this one, and it was the one on Craigslist. And yeah, we paid a little bit too much for it, $120, and it's in a different town we'd never bought in before. It's in Billings, which is about 45 minutes away, and the rents are a lot higher there. They're in the $1,200 to $1,300 for a 3-bedroom house, but we should have not fudged our numbers, and we should have said, hey, it still just doesn't make sense for us to do it, being that far away and stuff. So
great advice. That's awesome. Awesome.
Yep.
I'm going to dub this need a deal syndrome.
Yes. Thank you.
And you are not alone in having need a deal syndrome.
That's
Brandon constantly has.
I'm always in that. Yep. Yeah, that's me.
Yep.
Yeah. And it makes you do funny things, right?
Yep. The longer you go too, if I'm 2 weeks without a deal. Oh gosh, I got to go find something.
You're thirsty. Yeah.
Well, and so that's the danger of like the 1031 exchange. Like, I'm in the middle of one right now, right? So it's crazy. Like I have to find a deal. I've got 30 days left. Like
I gotta find a deal. No,
I have
to pay taxes.
I can't. I don't want to pay taxes because it's a long story. But man, I would lose like half of my profit if I had to pay taxes. Like I have to find a deal, so I'm going to find a deal. Like we talked about last week, the show that came out last week talked about like this mentality. Instead of thinking, will I, won't I? Like I'm just very, very positive. I'm going to find a deal. But at the same time, like I know the risk is that could make me it brings emotion into the thing, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So how do you do it without emotion? I don't know. You got any tips for me?
Yep. Yeah. Use that drive to help you find that. But yeah, I don't know how to control my emotions yet. I still get too excited. I just love real estate. It's so fun.
The best way I have is this. And I'm not no expert at this because I let emotion get into, but it's when I bring in other people to answer because they're not emotional, right? So I was looking at a deal that had that was that I thought it was pretty decent, but I showed it to my wife and she's like, yeah, but what about this and this and this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. And then there's another deal we both got excited about. I brought it to another guy who I really respect on BiggerPockets. I said, hey, I'm looking at this deal. He said, what about this? And I'm like, oh, you're right. Those conversations, I think, it's when I know there's a problem is when I don't want to go ask for advice because I'm afraid of what they'll say. And
if you don't want to ask for advice, you definitely have a deal you do not want to get into.
Good advice, Brandon. That's really good.
That's amazing. Really good.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It happens
all right,
once in a while.
So Josh, where you talked about how you're finding them. How are you financing them? Are you just using cash flows from the other ones to now help you acquire them, or what?
No, we do pretty much the BRRRR method that you guys have heard about. The real fun thing that we kind of discovered, and maybe this will help somebody that's listening, is that mobile home that we bought back at the beginning is basically what allowed us to finance a bunch of our properties. We went to the bank after we got that brick house under contract, that really good live and flip. And I said, hey, I don't have any down payment money to buy this thing. What can I do? And he's like, well, you need 20% down because it's not in livable condition. Secondary market won't touch it. So well, what do you have collateral wise? And I said, well, I got this mobile home. And he said, all right, we'll just use that as your down payment, and you can get into this no money down. And since then, we've done that 3 times with that mobile home. So it worked out really good for us buying properties. But now, since we paid off that original duplex, we have a $100,000 line of credit on that. And we just use that, pay cash for our property with the line of credit, basically. And then we can refinance right away. We don't have to wait the seasoning period because it's a line of credit. So we can refinance. And then in about 45 days, we get our original purchase price back up to the full purchase. So we have to put in, it's not quite the BRRRR strategy because we have to put in repairs, but we usually do that for $5,000 to $6,000. And we let the cash flow from the rentals kind of pay for those.
Can you explain how that works vis-a-vis somebody else who's got to do seasoning? Like what exactly is the difference between your ability to do it without seasoning and somebody's ability to somebody else who requires seasoning?
Yeah, I may not be the best person to ask, but from what I understand, once you get a loan on a property, then you have to wait the 6 months. There's something about that the title has to season on that. But if you pay cash for the property, which is kind of what we're doing with the line of credit because there's no lien filed against that property you're buying, then you can do something called the delayed financing exemption, I believe is what it's called, through secondary market lending policy. And then that's where you can just go in the day after closing and ask for a refinance based on the new appraisal value of whatever it is. And so that gives us like 40 days. We know the appraiser's coming in 40 days. We got 40 days to make this place look good. And then usually by then it's the values have gone way up. So an example of one this summer, we paid $67,000 for it. You use the line of credit, so no cash down on it, and then we put about $6,000 into it, and then it appraised at 135, and then we were able to get a full loan amount on the 167 back. So we didn't lose much cash other than our rehab costs, and so that just worked really good. Got a tenant in it right away, and it works. It's just awesome.
Are you continuing to pay these off with 10-year notes?
No, we do all 30-year fixed rate now. That's where we've left Dave Ramsey in the dust. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a minute. So, I mean, this is the big debate in the community. There's the Dave Ramsey side of things, which I love Dave Ramsey. I mean, he's one of my favorite humans, right? But Dave is adamantly against mortgages, against loans, and if you have one, you better pay it off as fast as possible. Where do you fall on that line, and why?
Well, I love him for credit card debt, dumb, car debt, dumb, those kind of things. But for buy and hold real estate, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, just the logic doesn't make sense, especially when he says, well, I won't yell at you for buying a house and putting it on a 15-year fixed rate, but you can't go into debt for a rental property. I'm like, well, a rental property makes way more sense than buying a primary residence.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
The logic he uses to argue against it. And anytime somebody calls into a show and says, hey, it's, I got 7 rental properties and they got debt against them, he always tells them just to pay them off as quickly as he can. He never says to sell them, which is always interesting to me. In other words, he likes the rental properries. So
yeah,
it's a little illogical, but anyways.
We've been trying to get Dave on the show for years now. And I don't know that he wants to come on board, but we'd love to have him. Dave, if you're listening, or if somebody that knows you is listening, come on, man, come join us. We could dive into this stuff. It'd be a great discussion.
Yeah, you should look into getting his son-in-law too. He's the property management for their portfolio.
Oh, really?
He might be a good. He's not quite as big as Dave, but he runs all their properties. So
I didn't know that. If I guess we'll look into that as well. That'd be fun.
Yeah, might be a good follow-up.
Cool.
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, it sounds great. Where are you going next? What's, just pick up a couple more properties and call it a day?
Yeah, we're just kind of buying them as they come out, and as we have money and as we have energy and all that kind of stuff. We got 2 kids and 1 on the way. So I tell you, we've slowed down quite a bit in the last 2 years since those kids have been around. But especially the live-in flip stuff. But that was a good start for us. I think our goal is probably about maybe 15 units, something like that, 15 single-family homes. And, if we could be around that $5,000 to $6,000 in cash flow, if we pay them off and get a good base under us, I think we'd be pretty excited for that. So that's kind of our goal for now.
Sounds great. Love it. Cool.
Brandon?
Yep.
All right. Well, why don't we shift gears here and head over to the world famous fire round.
It's time for the fire round.
All right, let's get to the fire round. These questions come direct out of the BiggerPockets forums, and we're going to fire them right at you, Josh Daniels. Number 1. Hi, everyone. I'm a brand new member on BiggerPockets, looking to get started. I'm 23 years old, looking for advice on how I should start on the journey. It says, my plan of action is to acquire a real estate license and then start my career out by selling homes and learning the ropes. I believe that from there, I can learn about the business, eventually become a successful investor. So my main priority right now is getting started and learning as much as I can. I'm glad I found this website and I appreciate any advice. I'd love to hear your opinion on my plan of action. What do you think of that? License first, learn the business?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. One of the things that springboarded my wife and I was that she was able to work at a real estate office for about 2 years. And it really helped us get in with the realtors, learning the business. And so any way you can get plugged into the business and the side like that really helps. I really think it makes a big difference. I think he's got a good plan. The only thing I would say is don't forget house hacking. Look for that duplex or look for that live and flip. That's a great way to get started.
All right.
Nice.
Very cool.
Awesome. All right, next question. How many chances do you give a tenant who pays late? 0?
Ooh, good
Multiple?
question. We try to do our best to not let them pay late. We file our 3-day pay or quit notice, which is prior to our eviction notice, within 5 days of the tenant being late. So that just lets them know we're being serious, and it really helps. We've had a couple of tenants that we've gone even 2 months without them paying rent on, and that was tough, but we just felt like it was the right thing to do in that situation. They were both hospitalized during that time, and their kids were at home with grandma. So we just that's the choice we made. Now we don't know, that's not a normal thing. So tenants, if you're listening, we're not going to make that happen more. So
it's great. And look, I mean, like, I think there are the occasional special circumstances, and
yep, that's what we felt. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fair enough. Cool. All right, Brandon.
Next question. I can't seem to get this house rented, even after many rent reductions. Any tips on getting this thing rented?
I don't think I've ever had that problem. We've always got them rented in the first week. It's the market's so hot around here. But yeah, I don't know. Check your pictures. Where are you listing it? What are you doing? I mean, listing is really important for us. The gold mine lately has been Facebook. Getting your on the Facebook sites that are like for sale or rent in your local town. Huge difference in how.
You're talking about groups like Facebook, local Facebook marketing groups.
Yeah, exactly, and those have been just a gold mine for us, finding really good tenants and finding them quickly. So
awesome, excellent. All right, last question. I'm looking to get started with flipping. What should be my first steps?
Flipping houses. Oh man, that's the whole podcast in itself, right? Just trying to get started on that. Yeah, that's why you guys have so many. But, I would just say find a mentor, find somebody that's doing it, see what they're doing, learn the best practices in the business, and get after it that way. Starting on your own, you can, but why? You got great people in your neighborhood, I'm sure, that are doing it. So get on that. So.
Awesome. Very good.
There you go.
Brandon.
All right, well, let's shift gears here one last time and head over to the famous four. All right, let's get to these famous 4 questions. These are the same 4 questions we ask every guest every week. Let's see what you got to say. Number 1, Josh, what is your favorite real estate related book?
Well, my favorite real estate related book
Nah. We all know that your favorite book is mine. So. Josh Daniels.
Oh, that guy.
Josh Dorkin.
All right, Josh Daniels, what is your favorite?
Sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time reading a lot of different books, but if you added up all that time, it wouldn't compare close to how much time I spend reading the BiggerPockets forums. And so my answer is definitely the forums, man. I love reading and learning so much. I learned a ton from that. So, man, if you're out there listening to this, get on the forums and get engaged, because that's the way to do it. You can learn so much from those.
I love
awesome, man. And no, we did not pay him for that.
Oh,
that is awesome.
I saw you.
I really love it.
you recently hit over 1,000 forum posts and over 700 votes, which means like you have that's a crazy high vote to post ratio. So good job.
That's pretty good.
Means you're being helpful.
Nice work.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Josh, what's your favorite business book in non-real estate?
Non-real estate, kind of more of a mindset book is The Millionaire Mind and The Millionaire Next Door. Those just really help me understand who the wealthy people in our world are and how they got there, and just really help me understand a lot more what they were. And then one of my favorite is the Richest Man in Babylon. It's a PDF download that you can get for free. It's real easy to get to, and you just Google that and you'll find it. It's about 70 pages. You can read it in like 4 or 5 hours, but phenomenal basic advice about how to invest and how to just live frugally under your means and just make things work. And so I really like that. Recommend that anybody starting out.
Very cool.
I think that's definitely my that would be my favorite mindset book also.
Cool.
For sure. Cool, man. What about hobbies? What do you do for fun? I mean, not a lot of time with the 2 and 1 on the way. What are you doing besides hanging with the kids?
I love the outdoors. I'm in Montana, so this is, I love hiking, backpacking. Right now it's hunting. I'm a big hunter. I shot a bear a couple weeks ago, and that was just a real cool experience. So those kind of things.
Did you eat the bear?
I am currently eating the bear. He's tasty.
I had right now at this moment? In general.
I mean, like a bear, how big a bear was this thing?
Oh, he wasn't big compared to Eastern standards. He was about 250 pounds, somewhere in there. So
a 250-pound bear will feed your family for an entire winter. Is that not correct?
A good hunk of meat out of him. That's pretty much all we eat is wild game around here. So pretty much our whole town, that's about how it works. So
that is so Montana. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's Montana. We love it here.
That's awesome. Yeah, the one thing that I loved most, when I used to go out to Oregon, I would always get huckleberry. There was a place by Mount Hood called the Huckleberry Inn. They had the best huckleberry syrup. Yum. So when we went up to Montana, man, I bought huckleberry everything. Like, absolutely every kitschy huckleberry food product, we bought it. I loved it. Man, it's my favorite thing.
You're those tourists that come up here. Just kidding.
Wow. Ouch.
Just kidding.
Ouch. Jeez,
come anytime. Come anytime.
Thank you very much. All right. Last question, Brandon.
My last question of the day. Josh Daniels, what do you think separates successful real estate investors from all those who give up, fail, or never get started?
For me, I think it's just about taking action. It's been repeated 100 times on all the podcasts you guys have done, but there's a difference between those that are doers and those that are just not. They just can't seem to connect it, and it's just a matter of doing it, getting out there, take that big action step, and you'll be glad you did. So nice. Take action.
That's great. All right, man, before we let you go, where can people find out more about you? How can they connect?
BiggerPockets, man. That's the best place on earth to be. I love it.
Woohoo! I love it. Awesome, man.
I'm there. I'll talk with you. I love helping people.
Great. Josh, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing. Good luck to you with everything you're doing, and thanks so much.
Yep. See you guys.
Take care. All right, guys, that was Josh Daniels, show 249 of the BiggerPockets podcast, and you can check out the show notes at biggerpockets.com/show 249. Great show.
It was a good show. Sorry, I was muted there. I was like about to talk. I'm like, wait, Josh can't hear me. No, it's a good show. I really like his, again, mentality. We talked about this earlier, but that it's not about how many units you get. It's about the kind of life you get from the real estate. So he's crushing it. I love his thinking. Like, how do I get more out of this deal? How do I make more profit out of each deal rather than getting more and more headaches and more deals? So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's awesome. Well, it's great to meet your parents, man. It's great. The whole world now knows them.
Now the whole world knows my parents, and this show is going to get so many ratings and reviews. You guys are all going to jump over to iTunes and be like, I'm so glad I got to meet Brandon's parents, and then give us a 5-star review. I know that's coming. I can feel it in my bones.
Wow. Yeah. You guys should leave us a rating and review on iTunes. That would be awesome. Cool, man. Well, when do you head home?
Friday. I will be home Friday.
About time?
Yeah, it's about time. It'll be good to be home.
Long trip.
Yeah, it's been a week. So.
That's it.
Yeah, I left last Saturday. Rosie, did I tell you this? I think I told you. Rosie threw up on the plane.
That was fun. On the plane on the way there.
Yeah, it's been a long week. So.
Yeah, you were that guy.
I was that guy. They hated me. Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's all right.
Nothing new.
By the way, you ever
been
been to a Culver's restaurant?
No, is
You
that
gotta
like
go to
a
Culver's.
it's like a chain, right?
It's like a chain, in the Midwest. They got them in Minnesota, and I think I'm going to get some Culver's frozen
Is it like
custard.
Waffle House or something?
It's much classier than Waffle House, though. That's not saying much. So no, it's really like I don't know, burgers. It's kind of like an In-N-Out sort of, but a nicer version of In-N-Out.
Nice.
Like every area has their own little like version of cool burger chains. Yeah. Anyway, next time you're in the Midwest, Culver's. And no, they did not pay to advertise on the show, though we should call them and have them advertise on the show. Good stuff.
Awesome, man. All right, well, let's get out of here. Let's let people get back to it. So you guys, next week, show 250 on the Bigger Pockets podcast featuring Grant Cardone. He's back.
He is.
It will be interesting. It will be controversial, but there's some knowledge to be gained in this one. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week.
Episode 250.
Episode 250. Guys, I'm Josh Dorkin.
And I'm Brandon Turner,
of the Bigger Pockets podcast.
co-host of the Bigger Pockets podcast,
Brandon
with my
Turner,
host,
who's afraid
Josh
that
Dorkin.
I'm going to cut him off.
Who's going to be
and not let him
afraid
say
that he's
anything.
not going to remember to include me because he's old and his
Signing
memory's
off.
going. Signing off.
Child.
You're listening to Bigger Pockets Radio, simplifying real estate for investors large and small. If you're here looking to learn about real estate investing without all the hype, you're in the right place. Be sure to join the millions of others who have benefited from BiggerPockets.com, your home for real estate investing online.
It's time for
The Random Six. All right, let's jump back in here real quick with the Random Six. So, number one, what movie could you see again and again and again and again and again?
Ooh, I just watched it the other night. It's called The Last Holiday. I don't know if you guys ever, but I just loved the message.
Oh, was that with Queen Latifah?
Sure. I don't know actors' names, but yes.
Never heard
She
of it.
goes.
Yeah.
She ends up in like this chalet in Europe. And
Yes.
yeah, I love
Exactly.
that movie. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, such good values, and I just love it. It's good. It's a good movie. Check it out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Oh, cool.
never
All
even
right,
heard
you ever
of it.
play the lotto? Speaking of values.
I think I've had one lottery ticket. Yes, I didn't win it.
You didn't
Oh,
win?
shame.
I
Shame.
gamble on real estate. I mean, that's kind of like the lottery sometimes. It's got a little gambling element.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Next question. How about... Here's a good one. Do you use an umbrella when it rains? Or are you one of those people who just bears with it?
No, just bears with it. I like that. I shot the bear in downpouring rain, so I had like jacket on and no umbrella. Yes.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I had a buddy
All
in
right.
high school. I had a buddy in high school whose dad was cleaning their gun upstairs in the kitchen, like upstairs in their house, and then a bear walked in their backyard. So he grabs the gun, loads it right there in the kitchen, shoots through the glass, and kills the bear in the backyard. Yeah, true story.
Oh.
And then they ate bear. Yeah, then they ate bear. For a long time.
Classy.
Yeah.
You guys are strange. You guys are strange out west, man.
I don't think he thought he could get downstairs and run out. So he's like, $200 window, and I'll get the bear, and he got him. Yeah.
All right, man.
Wow.
Summer or winter? Which do you like more?
Oh man, I probably like summertime way better. I'm just not a cold fan. It's too cold. Summer is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
You're in a weird place
And-
not to like the cold.
Yeah, and my wife's name is Summer, so I kind of have to answer
That's
Summer.
right.
Like,
Oh, there you go. There you go.
By the
gotta
way,
go that way.
tell Summer I said hello.
Will do.
Because I met her too. So
Yep, you did. Sure did.
All
And
right.
tell Heather hello.
I
Oh,
will.
wow.
I will.
Okay, you guys need another room.
We're gonna go hang out.
Brandon,
Watch some
your
TV.
last question.
All right,
Let's
my
go.
last question. Would you rather be invisible or not, or would you rather be invisible or be able to read minds?
Oh gosh. Well, reading minds would probably come in handy in real estate transactions, but invisibility would be kind of fun too. I don't know. Let's go with invisibility.
There you go.
Sneak around. It's kind of fun.
Nice.
All right. How do you learn best? Listening, watching, reading, or doing?
Definitely reading, I think. Again, back to the forums. Just getting on and reading that way. Like that.
Love it.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much again.
Awesome. So
All right.
fun being with you guys.
Thank you.
All right, Josh. Take care, man.